very good afternoon to you and welcome to iRadio News Bulletin. First, here are the headlines. The Minister of Information has warned that the citizens are fed up of the leaders for delaying to implement the peace agreements, adding that elections could be the only way for them to elect their leaders. The United Nations Security Council has extended and strengthened its peacekeeping mission in South Sudan for another year. And 3 leading businessmen in South Sudan have clarified that the payment of their $200 million loan will now be done through 6 commercial banks, not the central bank they earlier stated. These stories and more coming to you in this news bulletin with me, Yar Ajak Deng, and now the news in detail. The Minister of Information says South Sudan are fed up with the leaders for delaying to implement the peace agreement. Michael Makui added that elections could be the only way for them to elect their leaders. My colleague Emmanuel Joseph Akile has more.
The peace accord obligates the unity government to hold elections 60 days before the end of the transitional period to establish a democratically elected government. Despite the delays in the implementation, President Salva Kiir in November last year told the citizens that the much anticipated general elections would take place as planned in 2023. In August 2021, Kiir affirmed his commitment to the conduct of the general elections at the end of the transitional period. But in his address during the 5th Governors Forum in Juba last November, First Vice President Dr. Riek Machar said there would be no fair and free elections in 2023 unless key provisions in the 2018 peace deal are fully implemented. The key provisions include unification of the former warring forces, repatriation of the refugees and displaced persons, conduct of population census, and development of the country's permanent constitution. In addition, the Political Parties Act of 2012 must be reviewed and approved by the Parliament to enable free and democratic registration of political parties in South Sudan. Despite the slowness, President Salva Kiir last year insisted that the country will conduct general elections in 2023 as planned. But in what appeared to be a response to Kiir's statement, Dr. Riek Machar and Vice President Rebecca Nyandeng say implementation of security arrangements is critical for a fair, free, and transparent elections. In May 2019, the pre-interim period was extended by 6 months after the SPLM-SPLA-IO leader, Dr. Riek Machar, requested for more time to implement key parts of the security arrangements. At the end of the 6 months, they again extended the pre-transitional period by 100 days. It ended in February 2020 when President Salva Kiir appointed Dr. Riek Machar and other vice presidents, which marked the beginning of the 3-year transitional period. But 2 years after the presidency and the cabinet were formed, the Unified Army is not yet deployed as their graduation has been postponed several times. Information Minister Michael Makui now describes as people are fed up of us, the adjournments of implementation of some provisions in the agreement. He said elections would be the ideal move for South Sudanese to decide on their leaders. He spoke to iRadio in an exclusive interview yesterday.
The people of South Sudan are even fed up of us, of these adjournments. Every time adjournment, they are fed up of us. So we need to go to them so that they go and bring us back if they so wish. Otherwise, elections will be held in time, and people have to prepare us now for elections, because you will not start elections when the political parties act and the election law are amended, because their amendment is very easy and it can be passed in the same day by the parliament. So it doesn't need time. So my advice to people is that let us prepare for elections.
There are outstanding tasks in the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement. These include need for the parties to resolve issues concerning the unified command and control structure and force ratios, repatriation of the refugees and displaced persons, conduct of population census, and development of a permanent constitution for the country. In addition, the Political Parties Act of 2012 must be reviewed and approved by the parliament to enable free democratic registration of political parties in South Sudan. However, Michael Makui says the pending tasks can be implemented before elections.
Elections could be run because to now we have 9 months and maybe beyond, nobody knows. But within these 9 months, if there is a goodwill, then all these laws will be amended, because what is in the parliament now, the parliament, after passing the budget this week, next week they will start with the enactment of the laws. That are laws that need to be enacted, like the NCRC, National Constitutional Review Act. This act will establish the commission for the review of the constitution. The NCRC had earlier started on this and did a lot of work. And so the current body that will be established according to the law will not be starting from nowhere, but they will start from where the last committee stopped or commission stopped.
South Sudan has never held a general election since its independence in 2011. The first general election was scheduled to take place on the 9th of July 2015. However, the country descended into years of civil war, prompting the parliament to extend the presidential term until July 2018. Reporting for our Radio News, I am Emmanuel Joseph Akile.
Thank you for that comprehensive report. The United Nations Security Council has extended and strengthened its peacekeeping mission in South Sudan for another year. The UNMISS mandate was renewed after 13 out of 15 Security Council members voted in its favor, with China and Russia abstaining. China and Russia said they abstained due to the inclusion of language related to human rights and climate change. According to the resolution, the mission is obliged to carry out tasks in 4 key areas, such as protection of civilians, creation of humanitarian access, and supporting the peace process. It is also mandated to monitor, investigate, and report violations of international humanitarian law, as well as abuses of human rights. Linda Thomas-Greenfield is the U.S. ambassador to the UN. Addressing the council yesterday, Greenfield said that she believes the UNMISS mandate extension will help create a path towards a long-term stability and security in the country.
The United States thanks council members for their efforts to strengthen the UNMISS mandate and to ensure the mission supports the people of South Sudan in their pursuit of lasting peace, security, and stability. The mandate reinforces the core mission of UNMISS to protect civilians, support delivery of humanitarian assistance, monitor and investigate human rights, and support the peace process. It also authorizes UNMISS to provide electoral assistance at the request of the government of South Sudan, pending its meeting of electoral benchmark outlined in the revitalized agreement. We believe the renewed UNMISS mandate will help create a necessary and powerful path toward long-term stability and security in the country.
Meanwhile, China says it regrets U.S. push for human rights language in Security Council resolution on South Sudan. A statement published on the Chinese state media said China is supported the renewal of UNMISS mandate but abstained from voting after the United States, the pen holder on South Sudan, refused to make revisions on the resolution. 3 leading businessmen in South Sudan have clarified that payments of their $200 million loan will now be done through 6 commercial banks, not the central bank, as earlier stated. Early this week, the chairperson of the business community, Ayi Duang Ayi, says him and Amin Akasha and Makir Gai struck a deal with the Ministry of Finance to mortgage their assets to the central bank for $200 million. The agreement would allow the businessmen to use their fixed assets to receive loan in dollars or its equivalent in pounds. According to Ayi, the valued assets worth $1.5 billion will be mortgaged out of the grace period of 5 years. He said the assets on mortgage include hotels, privately constructed hospitals and clinics, commercial buildings, residential houses, among others. The business tycoon says they would use the loan to support livestock and agriculture exports and imports in the country. However, The chairperson of the business community, Ayi Duang Ayi, explained that they will now be paid through 6 commercial banks, not the central bank, as he stated earlier. According to him, the Ministry of Finance and the central bank are acting as guarantors.
عشان كده بيطلب من الوزارة المالية والبنك المركزي عشان هم يكونوا ضمان لأننا اللي جينا فشلنا أكلنا قروش معناه من يشيل البيوت ده ويدفع قروش بتاع الممولين اللي كان شيلنا منه ده معنى الضمان بتاع الوزارة المالية والبنك المركزي. لكن القروش ما قروش البنك المركزي ولا قروش بتاع الوزارة المالية، ده قروش بتاع البنوك التجارية ونينا بنشغلوا بمقابل وصول بتاعنا ثابتة. الخمسة بنوك هو الأكبر بنك، نيل كوميرشال بنك، بنك جنوب السودان تجاري، ألفا بنك، وأفريكا ناشونال بنك.
You are listening to iRadio Afternoon News. 2 South Sudanese children burned to death after mother locked them in the house to fetch water in Bidibidi refugee camp in Uganda West Nile district of Yumbe. The incident happened last evening in Zone 1 in Bidibidi refugee settlement. The assistant settlement commander of Zone 1 in Bidibidi says the cause of the fire is yet to be established. She says the mother of the deceased children locked them in a room when she went to fetch water. Unfortunately, a fire started and the 2 children were burned beyond recognition. Alioro says the remains of the children have been conveyed in Yumbe district mortuary as investigations go on. She narrated what happened to iRadio a while ago.
That incident happened last night.
Yes.
The information, it was already very late. I didn't go immediately.
Yes.
But I went this morning, very early in the morning, before anything. That was the thing I did. I went there together with the police. We got the bodies already. We cannot organize anything. Those kids were burned beyond recognition. It was happening. We just started with the family and we tried to inquire what happened. According to the neighbors, the mother could not talk. According to the neighbors, their mother went to fetch water and then she locked them in the house.
And finally, before the international news, a female South Sudanese has been awarded as the Australian Art Gallery inaugural La Praia Art Award this week on Monday. It is a $50,000 prize and a $30,000 worth of travel. Atong Atem, a South Sudanese national residing in Melbourne, has been an artist for 10 years. She is the daughter of veteran journalist and writer Atem Yak Atem. Atong could not hide her joy when the news of the award was broken to her. On receiving the award, she said, and I quote, "It is hard not to see value in your work when people you admire are seeing value in it," end quote. In a tweet, the former Deputy Minister of Defense, Dr. Majak Diagot, said, and I quote, "It really feels good not only to be a father, but also a South Sudanese at such moments," end quotes. Some South Sudanese in Australia were also excited about the award, saying it brings about a good image of South Sudan abroad. You are listening to iRadio Afternoon News, and now my colleague Atem Jennifer joins us with the international news, and this international news is brought to you by MTN.
1, 2, 3. 1 million. 2 million.
Yes. It's time to celebrate. MTN 2 million. MTN has reached over 2 million customers and still counting. Are you? With over 2 million subscribers, why won't you trust MTN?
To enter the draw, get an MTN SIM card today and get free 10 minutes every day for 3 months and 500 MB every month for 3 months. And on top of that, qualify to enter a draw to win 2 million SSP cash.
Sabi, what are you waiting for? Buy an MTN SIM card today and get to win 2 million SSP. Yes, when MTN says 2 million SSP, it's 2 million for one lucky Junubin. Second winner gets 200,000 SSP, 10 winners get 20,000 SSP, and others get lots of MTN branded prizes.
Join MTN, the biggest family in South Sudan, and enjoy such amazing offers.
MTN, everywhere everywhere you go.
Thank you, Yara Jack, and welcome to the top stories making headlines from the region and beyond with me, Atem Jennifer Mabormading. More than 10 Kenyan soldiers have been killed by roadside explosive in southern Somalia. 5 others were seriously injured when their vehicle ran over an improvised explosive device in the Gido region near the Kenyan-Somali border. The names of the killed soldiers have not been revealed, but a former Kenyan presidential aspirant said on Twitter that his young brother was among the dead. The attack has been blamed on Al-Qaeda-linked Al-Shabaab group, which has carried out similar strikes against civilians and security convoys. Elsewhere, the authorities in Nigeria's northeastern state of Borno said a lion has been killed by hunters in a remote area near the border with Cameroon. The carcass of the lion has been deposited at the government-run zoo in the state capital, Maiduguri. The authorities say the lion was killed to prevent it from harming people. Local hunters often kill wild animals for their meat, tusks, and skin. And finally, loud explosives were heard earlier this morning in the western areas of Kyiv, 12 hours into a 35-hour curfew. 2 people were injured when 12-story residential building was hit in the Shevchenko district. The city's mayor has warned it is difficult and dangerous moment for the capital city. This international news was brought to you by MTN with me, Atem Jennifer Mabormading.
Thank you, Jennifer. And now my colleague John Liberia joins us with the sports news.
Thank you, Yara Jack. Welcome to Sports News. South Sudan Football Federation have announced a 27-man as the final squad for the AFCON 2023 qualifiers game against Djibouti in Egypt. Bright Stars head coach Stefano Cosin announced the squad yesterday. The Italian coach dropped 10 players out of the initial 38 players from local and international clubs. The screened 27 players will be the ones who will take part in Djibouti game on 23rd March in Alexandria, Egypt, and the return leg in Kampala on 27 March 2022. The Bright Stars will be subjected to the second COVID-19 test this afternoon and depart to Egypt on 18th this month. The winner of the 2 games will qualify to the group stages of AFCON 2023 qualifiers. In Champions League last night, Manchester United's limitations were laid bare as Atletico number on them to snuff out their slender hopes of success for another season. United's limitations mean a last 16 exit is about par for the course given their current reduced status, and those limitations mean their only hope of anything resembling salvation from this mess of a campaign rests on finishing in the Premier League's top 4. It will also be the measure of whether the experiment of handing Ralf Rangnick the levels of control can be judged as a success, albeit a very qualified one, because if United do not overhaul Arsenal or any other contenders, then it must be deemed a failure. Manchester United are currently a point behind Arsenal, who lie 4th, but have played 3 games more and do not present a convincing case that they can climb that particular hill. Darwin Nunes is caught the winner as Benfica beat Ajax in Amsterdam to reach the Champions League quarterfinals. After an entertaining first leg ended 2-2 in Lisbon, the return was far tighter and the visitors had gone little to threaten before Nunes struck. Christian Eriksen has been named in Denmark's squad for the first time since his cardiac arrest while playing at Euro 2022 last summer. The playmaker 30 was fitted with an implanted cardioverter defibrillator, ICD, a type of pacemaker, after his cardiac arrest against Finland. He joined Brentford in January following his release by Inter Milan. Denmark play friendlies in the Netherlands on 26 March and at home against Serbia 3 days later. Eriksen will join up with his international teammates for training in Spain prior to the 2 games. And that was the end of Sports News with me, John Liberio, and back to my colleague, Yara Jack.
Thank you, John. And now to end this news bulletin, here is a recap of the main headlines again. The Minister of Information has warned that the citizens are fed up of the leaders for delaying to implement the peace agreement, adding that the elections could be the only way for them to elect their leaders. The United Nations Security Council has extended and strengthened its peacekeeping mission in South Sudan for another year. And 3 leading businessmen in South Sudan have clarified that the payment of their $200 million loan will now be done through 6 commercial banks, not the central bank as they earlier stated. That's the end of iRadio Afternoon News. You can also get the stories and updates by subscribing to iRadio News Alert on your MTN South Sudan number. Call 700 *700# and follow the instructions. If there is a story or an event you would like iRadio to cover or report about, please send us a text message on +211 912 986 986. It is also our WhatsApp number. Follow us on Twitter at iRadio Juba, like our Facebook page iRadio, subscribe to our YouTube channel iRadio South Sudan, and watch our comprehensive interviews. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for the news in Arabic at 1:30 the hour. I am Yar Ajak Deng. Thank you for listening.
One, 2, 3. 1 million. 2 million.
Yes. It's time to celebrate. MTN 2 million. MTN has reached over 2 million customers and still counting. With over 2 million subscribers, why won't you trust MTN?
To enter the draw,